New After Prison Show merchandise is now available. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show. And in this video, I want to tell you some really positive, awesome things. I just ran across some really awesome things going on in the news relating to prison. I want to share those with you. You know, when people think about prison, the first thought that probably comes to their mind is negativity, or that prison is a very negative place. And it absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, is just that. But every so often, you do hear about some things that are really positive and good that are taking place in prison. And today, I want to share with you some really positive things that are taking place behind the fence. This first thing that I want to tell you about was just brought to my attention by an awesome supporter of After Prison Show by the name of Andrew. And he emailed me this story, and when I read it, I was absolutely blown away by this. Because you don't ever hear about things like this taking place, especially from inside of a prison. But Andrew just sent me this story about down in Texas, and it's Texas that was just heavily damaged by Hurricane Harvey, where this hurricane caused over $200 billion in damage. But it's down there in the state of Texas where prisoners were donating money from their commissary funds to help with the Hurricane Harvey relief. And what's even more amazing about this story is that these prisoners who donated to this Hurricane Harvey relief, these guys raised $53,000 from the donations that they made from their commissary funds. The story says that it was like 6,600 prisoners who donated to this hurricane relief fund and were able to raise this staggering amount of money, $53,000. That's just absolutely unheard of to me. And in fact, I have never heard anything like this before in my life. 6,600 prisoners donating from whatever commissary they may have. And you have to keep in mind that most people who are locked up, they're not going to have very much money, if any money at all. And for these prisoners down there to be able to raise $53,000, to me personally, that is like an unbelievable act of kindness extended from guys who can't even be out there in the free world, but yet still are trying to offer any help that they can. The Texas State Department criminal justice spokesman said that these prisoners were requesting to be able to donate this money. Nobody asked these guys to do this. They took it upon themselves to put this together and say, hey, we want to help out. Even though we're locked up, even though we got to serve time for whatever it is that we did, we still want to offer up any help that we can. And with it being roughly 6,600 prisoners who donated to raise this $53,000, if you do the math on this, that's like an average of $8 donated per prisoner. And though it may not seem like much, $8 can really mean a lot to a guy who's locked up. He might not be able to buy everything with only $8, but he damn sure can buy a few things for himself to help make his time a little better. A few honey buns and ramen noodle soups, maybe a soda and a bar of soap. And again, though that isn't much in commissary, just being able to have any commissary helps to make the time a little more tolerable. Maybe it helps on a night when your stomach is touching your back and you are absolutely starving because of what they're serving you on a daily basis while you're in that place. Maybe it helps you to have a real bar of soap instead of having to use state soap. And let me tell you something about state soap. You use that while you're in the shower, you're gonna get out of that water and your entire body is gonna feel like there's fleas all over it. Your skin will be so damn itchy from using that state soap. And with prison already being a place where you're gonna have to make some major sacrifices, there's not gonna be very many luxuries afforded to a person who is serving time. It really amplifies this good deed done and this money raised by these prisoners. Hell, you got people out here in the free world who won't even donate to anything. And to think that these are guys who are locked up, who are missing out on the free world, and they're willing to make donations, they're willing to make these sacrifices. That's got to speak to some degree of the character of these guys who did donate this money. Because I don't think there's a better example of that old saying that says, not everybody who's locked up is a bad person, than what these guys down in Texas have done. And think about this just a little further. Out of 6,600 prisoners who donated on average $8 to this hurricane relief, just think, out of all of those prisoners, there are most certainly prisoners who did so who probably still got a lot of time left to serve. Hell, there might even be prisoners who were never even coming home who donated to this. And again, I just wanted to share this story with you because of the fact that you never hear this sort of a thing taking place really anywhere, let alone inside of a prison. So I just want to say, from me and us here at After Prison Show, I mean, our hats are definitely off to these prisoners who did donate to this hurricane relief. Now, there were all sorts of other things going on in the news in relation to prison that I could have talked about in this video and along with that first story that I just told. However, pretty much everything else that I was running across was dealing with riots, was dealing with violence, and was overall dealing with negativity. And because of how powerful and how positive that first story was, I wanted to have another positive story in this video. And there was only one other one that I had found. And this story takes place down in Louisiana, where on November the 1st, 1,400 prisoners are about to be released due to some new criminal justice reform and reinvestment bills that have just gone in effect down there. And it's with what Louisiana is planning to do that over the course of the next decade, they're going to reduce the number of people they've got in prison down there in this state by 10% and also reduce the number of people on probation and parole by 12%. And I mean, damn, that sounds pretty damn good. However, there is one major thing to note about this. The state of Louisiana has become infamous as the world's leader in incarceration, despite having a similar crime rate to its neighboring states. So I'm guessing what they're saying here is that Louisiana locks up more people than anybody, maybe even in the world. And I'm quite sure this is based upon the state's population versus the state's prison population. And I just looked it up right now, and number one on the state with the most people incarcerated is in fact Louisiana. It says that the state incarcerated 700 people per 100,000 people. And while that may not sound like a lot, I mean, just listen to this. If you consider the entire United States as a whole on a state and federal prison level, the average is 471 people locked up per 100,000. And again, Louisiana's locking up 700 people per 100,000. I know there's not a big difference between that number, but when you're talking about on a prison level, Louisiana sure be locking folks up. So it's with these new reforms and bills that they're about to pass that might make Louisiana a little more like an average state when you think about the number of people locked up. So when you think about these prison reforms and bills that Louisiana is about to enact starting November 1st, when they're about to release 1,400 prisoners, I mean, this really just might make Louisiana more like your average state when it comes to the number of people who are serving time. This story says that these 1,400 prisoners who are going to be released have been prepared by the Department of Corrections staff to return to their families and communities. And I'm guessing what that means is they have definitely gone through a re-entry program. God, I know a lot about re-entry programs, considering the last 2.5 years that I served of my 7-year prison sentence, I was in a re-entry program. And I gotta tell you, those damn re-entry programs, they ain't no joke. In fact, a re-entry program is enough to make a guy never want to go back to prison, because that's how damn tough things actually are. This story also goes on to say that by reducing the amount of prisoners who are locked up, the state is expected to save something like $262 million. Because I gotta tell you, a lot of money goes into keeping people locked up. Though they don't really spend that much money on anything good for the prisoners while they're locked up. Certainly ain't gonna be eating no good food, sleeping on any kind of a comfortable bed. I mean, you're in a damn cell on a cot. And the average cost to feed a prisoner per day is anywhere between like 90 cents and like $2 or $3. You know, if you're eating for $2 or $3 a day, you can imagine the type of food that you're eating. You're talking about 3 meals at that price. Not just one meal. And with that $200+ million a year that Louisiana will save by not locking so many damn people up, they say they're going to reinvest 70% of that money back into re-entry in their prison systems. And to be honest with you, I mean, that sounds like a really good thing. Because any help that you can give the guys who are getting ready to go home that might help to better their chances of success once released, again, that's a good thing. Especially considering the statistic about the amount of prisoners who will re-offend after release within like the first 3 to 5 years. I think that's called like the recidivism rate. I can't believe I actually said that word correctly. I've been trying to say it all day and I haven't said it right until right then. But the percentage of prisoners who supposedly will reoffend within those first 3 to 5 years is 65%. And you know, I'm not even out of that statistic yet. I've only been home for almost 2 years now. So I've still got a couple of years to go myself before I'm out of that statistical range. Now, with the fact that Louisiana is getting ready to release these 1,400 prisoners on November the 1st, there's a couple of key things to note with this. First of all, this number is not unusual because the Department of Corrections already releases approximately 1,500 prisoners per month. That is almost unbelievable to think about. Think about that. 1,500 people every single month are coming home from prison after serving God knows how much time. You might have a guy who's coming home after serving only like 2 weeks, while you got another guy right beside him coming home after serving like 20 years. They also say that these prisoners who are going to be released are not people who are locked up for violent crimes. These are all non-violent offenders, like your boy was. And they also have bad charges. I can't even say the word, but you know what I'm talking about. They say that the percentage change in eligibility is minor. The reforms have resulted in a 5% change in the amount of good time a person can earn. Previously, individuals in the state of Louisiana, I gotta emphasize that, were eligible for release after serving 40% of their time. Now, it's 35%. Here in the state of Virginia, you are serving 85% of your time. Hands down, that is the least amount of time that you will serve if you're convicted of a felony. If you're convicted of a misdemeanor, you only serve 50% of your time. And I'm guessing a big part of the reason why there's such a vast difference between the amount of time that a prisoner is going to serve here in the state of Virginia versus down in the state of Louisiana, because again, Louisiana is the incarceration capital of the damn world, or at least of the United States based upon that information I just looked up. Most individuals being released November 1st are already close to their release dates. Under the new laws, people are being released on average just 8 weeks earlier. So it's not like these guys are getting any major time cuts off of their sentences, though 2 months does make all the difference in the world, I can tell you. I remember when my release date was July the 1st of 2015, then it went to July the 6th of 2015, then it went to February something of 2016, and then I was able to get it back down, getting my good time back. But I was only able to get it down to October 13th of 2015. So when July of 2015 rolled around, your boy was looking pretty damn sick. I'm in there thinking to myself, like, why in the hell was I doing those tattoos? Joe, you should have just been a straight A student in prison. You could have been out of here already. However, I gotta sit in here now for another 3 months. Could have been home already. You know what stuff you can do in 3 months? You miss out on a whole lot of stuff, no matter how much time you're locked up for. And this last little bit of information, I think this is probably the most interesting of it all. But it says that these changes may help the state lose its title as the world's leader in incarceration. Louisiana incarcerates 776 people per 100,000 residents in 2015. The information I was looking at, I think that was 2016. Far below the national rate of 458 people per 100,000. So, you know, I wish Louisiana a lot of luck with what they're getting ready to do. And I'm also happy to hear that, you know, they're trying to make these changes to not be the world's leader in locking people up. And I especially wish all the luck in the world to these 1,400 prisoners who are getting ready to come home on November the 1st. Because I can assure you that no matter what, coming home from prison and trying to get your life back together, you know, there's a big old 65% statistic that says you're just not gonna make it. More than half of them guys just ain't gonna make it. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. And if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about it. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!